ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, we're checking out a sci-fi film from 1973. That movie is Westworld. And before I get started, and before the comment section gets flooded, I want to make this point right now. I do not care about the Westworld TV show. I do not give a shit about your flavor of the fucking minute television show. I do not need to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. I'm talking about the movie, and the TV show can go fuck itself. I just want to make that point clear, because I can see the comments coming. Now, let's talk about this, shall we? The plot to Westworld, from what I've gathered on the back of the Blu-ray case, is that the setting is the titular Westworld, which is a theme park where people can live out their Wild West fantasies, and the entire Wild West look is done using robots who are programmed to not harm anyone until something happens, and then the robots go nuts, and then they try to kill people. So now we have a futuristic theme park where people are running for their lives from the very gimmick that drew them to the park. I should also mention Westworld is written and directed by Michael Crichton, the man who wrote Jurassic Park. Another story about a futuristic theme park where people are running for their lives because the very gimmick that drew them there has somehow gone nutso and wants to kill them. I have a theory. My theory is that at some point during his life, Michael fucking Crichton got really pissed off at a theme park and just held some kind of a deep-seated grudge. So he wrote Westworld and Jurassic Park to essentially look at all of them and go, all of y'all, fuck ya. That is just theory. I could be totally wrong. Now, I know that Jurassic Park is a good movie. I don't know if Westworld, the film that was Jurassic Park before Jurassic Park was ever a thing, is any good or not. I have no idea. I certainly hope so. I didn't even know that Michael Crichton directed films. This actually may be his only film that he's ever, directed. I do know that Crichton can write incredibly well, though. So I do have hopes that I am in for something good. The only way I'm going to find out, guys, if this thing is any good at all, is if I shut up and I push play. And I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Westworld. Okay, I was just thinking about something, guys, and I'm just going to ask this quick. So it seems rather heavily implied that when you go to Westworld or Western World, whichever term they want to use for that scene, it seems odd that they flip-flop between names. Anyway, when you go to Westworld, it is heavily implied that your guns are loaded with live ammo, because when you shoot the robots, they bleed and act like real robots. And if you can't tell the difference unless you look closely at the robot's hands, because somehow they haven't perfected the hands yet, then how the hell do you know you're shooting robots? Moreover, why the fuck would you spend $1,000 a day to run the risk of being potentially shot by some fucking yahoo who thinks that you may be just a robot inside of Westworld? I understand, guys, that all of this is a topic that's probably not going to get touched on in this movie. But damn it, I'm just kind of curious, because it just made me kind of think a little bit. That if you do use live ammo, what the fuck's stopping you from just gunning down the other people who are just on vacation? And if they don't find your body right away, do they still charge you the $1,000 a day if your corpse is there? I'm sorry, guys, now this is just opening up even more fucking questions. I'm kind of hoping at least some of those are answered here. I will say this, guys, I do find it very cool that Westworld also has robot horses, because that means that if you really want to, you can shoot horses too while you're there. By the way, my question about whether or not the guns have live ammo and that you can shoot anybody you want, yes and no. Yes, the guns are filled with live ammo. No, you cannot shoot anyone you want because the guns have a sensor that prevents it from firing if it's pointed at anything with a high body temperature, thus you can only shoot robots. Which means that the people who run Westworld know that there are people who want to go on a Wild West vacation and for whatever reason want to shoot a horse. At least they're pleasing everybody, including apparently weird motherfuckers who just want to shoot horses. I'm sorry, guys, that whole thing just seemed kind of sort of clever and sort of cool, and the fact that you see a robot horse just sitting amongst all the other dead robots is just kind of cool. So, the park is sort of freaking out because one of our main characters was bitten by a robot snake, okay? My question is, when you were building the robot snake, why the hell did you put fangs in the fucking thing? Most snakes, the fangs fold inwards anyway, so you'd never see it if it's never programmed to strike. And when we actually saw the robot snake, the fangs looked almost like they were just molded to always be fully out. What the heck? Wow. That is just raising a mountain of questions, man. If you're trying to ensure the safety of your guests, why would you put dangerous implements on shit that's not supposed to strike in the first place? I'm sorry, guys, that just kind of bothered me a little bit. They were basically asking for something like this to happen in the off chance that the fucking programming on the snake flipped out. So it was kind of stupid, and I totally know it's to set up the big plot that we are going to see when everything in the park goes, fucking nutso. But still, it seemed like a bit of a design fuck up to me, man. Alright, I got two things here that I'm kind of wondering. So, we finally got to see what the world looks like through the eyes of one of these robots. Since now the robots have finally gone nuts and are killing people in all three parts of this theme park. And it is some of the most pixely, ugly, nasty, janky shit I've ever seen. Guys, I want you to imagine if the world was rendered on an Atari 2600. That's kind of how their vision looks. How the fuck can you differentiate anything? How the hell can these robots differentiate shit if their vision is that poor? That's one thing. And two, a moment ago, and I was just thinking about this. So the fucking control room, in order to try to shut down all these robots, decided to kill the power. Now they're worried about getting their doors open, or else they're going to suffocate. Are you telling me that the fucking control room for this shit is airtight? Why in fuck would you need an airtight control room? I understand, guys, that both of these are incredibly trivial and incredibly stupid. God damn it, that really is ugly vision that these robots have. Jesus. Anyway, I understand that both these points are pointless and stupid and trivial. God damn it, I felt like mentioning them because they're kind of bugging me slightly. Well, guys, that was Westworld. Let me shut that off. Okay, so let's talk about the movie, shall we? As is usually my way, I'm going to start with writing. I will say that on the surface, we have here an incredibly fascinating story. I honestly kind of sort of like the idea of a futuristic theme park broken up into three separately themed areas where you could spend massive amounts of cash and you could live out whatever lavish fantasy you want, as long as it's either set in medieval times, ancient Rome, or the Wild West. Still, all of that sounds really cool. And the whole thought of the robots flipping out and just going on a fucking rampage and killing everybody, again, sounds really cool. And all of that sounds really promising. The problem is, because of, I honestly don't know if it's because of how this was written or because of, what wound up in the final film. But there are a lot of questions that are left unanswered, and the longer that you watch, the more questions pop up. And it could all probably have been explained better if this were maybe, I don't know, a novel. And I don't know if Michael Crichton ever released this as a novel. I kind of hope so, because then maybe it'll flesh everything out more. What I mean by, more and more questions pop up. I mentioned the snake, about how there are robot snakes in order to give the whole thing this look of the true Wild West. But the snakes, like all the other robots, are programmed to not attack the guests. Yet the snake still had fangs built into it. So if it did happen to malfunction, as it did, and strike a guest, as it did, then the fangs are going to dig in. The guest is going to have some, and the guest is going to have some scratches on him, and the whole thing is just one big colossal mess. So, this makes me wonder, why would you put fangs on that snake? And that right there is just like, and that, guys, is just the tip of it. It's like, so they have heat sensors on the guns, so that way you can't shoot anything which is alive. Now that works fine in Westworld because guns are the main weapon in Westworld. But then we have medieval world, where swords and lances and maces are all the order of the day. You can't fucking put a heat sensor on that. What the hell would stop somebody in that world from just going and just chopping the fuck out of people with the nearest sword they have to hand? Because I was kind of wondering that when we for a short time we focus on a guest in medieval world, and he has to fight against the Black Knight, and they're swinging swords and maces and everything. I'm sitting there looking at it going, okay, so how the hell do you stop guests from just going nuts on that? Going back to the guns for a second, then another question popped up. Okay, you can't shoot anyone directly with the gun, but what exactly stops somebody from getting horrendously hurt by way of bullet fucking ricochet? Because you hear friggin' ricochets everywhere whenever there's a big like gunfight. And there's no explanation as to why there are no guests injured from that. There was a huge bar fight. There was no explanation as to who was a guest and who was a robot, and how the guests aren't getting hurt when they're getting bottles smashed over their heads, and they're getting thrown over railings, they're getting chairs broken over their fucking backs. Like, there is no answer as to how this park, which is supposed to keep all of the guests safe, is keeping them safe in the middle of this gigantic fuck-off bar fight. Guys, and again, it's all minor, trivial shit that really doesn't play into the main story itself, outside of why the fuck do you put fangs on a snake that's not supposed to strike anything in the first place? It's like little things like that are going to kind of dig at you. And then other questions involving the swords and the maces and the bar fights and just everything the fuck else. Why the hell was the fucking control room airtight? They still didn't fucking explain that. It's just tons and tons of little things that are just going to mount. And as you're sitting there watching, you're going to be wondering more and more and more. And one more hit me, because at the very end, we run into another robot, and our lone hero, our lone surviving lead, thinks that it's human and tries to get her to drink, and the water causes her to short out. My question to that is, if water causes these things to short out, then why weren't the horses shorting out when they were riding down the river? Why the hell wasn't the gunslinger shorting out when he was drinking whiskey at the bar? Why exactly does water impact this one fucking robot? Moreover, if these things are supposed to be so highly advanced, why would water be such an easy, kill for them? It doesn't make a lick of sense. It's just some weird thing that just jumps out there, and it adds another fucking question to the never-ending, unceasing pile of questions that this movie continued to rack up and failed to answer. Which surprised me, because when I first asked about the whole thing about the guns, the movie then I am not even shitting you, the moment that I asked it, which was shortly after I thought about it, within 5 minutes the movie had answered it. And I really thought that the movie was going to have answers for everything, and it was going to be a very tight logical thing, which would make sense because that is how Michael Crichton wrote. Is he always wrote to make sure that almost every logical question is, properly answered. And here, damn near nothing is fucking answered. So I'm going to assume that between Crichton's script and what wound up in the final film, a lot of shit was probably cut. A lot of shit that would probably have explained all of this. Would probably have explained all of it in great detail. Again, if Michael Crichton ever fucking wrote a Westworld novel, I'm gonna want to look for it, because that might actually answer a whole lot of these fucking questions. Anyway, so I'm just gonna say this, guys. Our story here is really, really promising, and if you can look past the mountain of bizarre questions that this movie crops up, if you are able to look past all of those, then you are in for a very fascinating movie. However, because I have a bad habit of noticing all of that kind of shit, and it normally has a habit of weighing on me as I sit there and I watch the movie unfold, I couldn't stop myself from just stopping and going, why the hell is this happening? What about this? Why the hell was there a modern manhole cover in the middle of fucking Roman world to lead into the underground tunnels where the people working at the park travel from place to place? Why the hell wasn't there some kind of a more Roman themed decorative thing instead of a giant steel manhole cover, or rather iron manhole cover? Why? That made no sense at fucking all. How in the hell was the gunslinger able to track this guy's footsteps when he was going through Roman world, where a gigantic fuck-off massacre just happened, and there would have been footprints fucking every fucking where. Now, if he was tracking some kind of residual body heat as he's walking, that would make sense. But he was also tracking the horse's tracks until they got to the river, and the horse is a fucking robot who wouldn't leave a heat-sensitive track. Guys, do you see what fucking happens here? I sit here and I think about it more, and more questions fucking pop up. That's awful. The story here is really promising, however, it is brought down by a fucking ceaseless mountain of stupid questions that, by all rights, should never have been brought up in the first place, but the movie insists on bringing them all out front and center. One more. I have one more. One more fucking question. Because when you look at the gunslinger, you can tell that he's a robot because he has silver fucking eyes, and they stand out. And the French hooker robot also had silver eyes. So why the hell do they keep talking about how you can see it, in the fucking hands? They all have silver fucking eyes. Like, that, honestly, that would have been a nice tell that someone is a fucking robot, is they have giant silver fucking eyes. that it basically looks like they have pinballs instead of fucking irises and pupils. That would have made a lot more sense instead of, oh, it's the hands because they haven't mastered hands yet. Shut up. Anyway, once more, if you can look past all of this, which is probably easier for most, the movie here is probably really good. Unfortunately, I am not one of those people. I have just spent about 10 minutes bitching about the fucking questions that this movie continues to crop up, and I'm gonna have to move on, otherwise this whole fucking video is just gonna be me asking more and more and more questions and blowing more and more holes into this fucking movie. Anyway, so writing is a little bit troublesome, let's just put it that way. I will say, though, that the acting is fantastic. The acting in this movie is spectacularly done, and even though the writing does leave a lot to be desired, the actors make this thing at least worth watching. So even if you can't look past all of the logical potholes that this thing leaves, at least the story is told well, and the actors are able to, carry it in an incredibly awesome way. The only one I would have to say is a little bit of an issue is the man playing our gunslinger, and that is the legendary Yul Yul Brynner. And Yul Brynner normally can act incredibly well. Apparently, somebody informed him that because he is playing a robot, he has to play it as stiff and as robotic as possible, even though, you know, you're not supposed to be able to differentiate robots from humans except for the hands and the pinball eyes. But hey, he opted to play it incredibly stiff and incredibly robotic. And I'm not talking about just how he reads his lines. He even moves like he has rust in every single fucking joint. It's like he moves in such a fucking robotic fashion. It is almost fucking comical. And considering the fact that the character is supposed to be kind of a serious character, that doesn't quite work. Now, I am going to say that his fucking performance, as stiff as it is still incredibly good. It's just, it does kind of sort of take you out of the film slightly. So acting here, I can certainly say is good, barring a couple of fucking hitches in certain spots. Special effects. For a film made in 1973, the special effects in this thing are fucking awesome. That, to me, is probably the high point of this film, is its special effects. Well, most of the special effects, I'm still trying to ponder exactly why in the hell the robot's vision is so frickin' terrible, yet they're able to track incredibly well, even though you can't differentiate one thing from another, and how if you have your thermal vision on, all of a sudden fire is able to mask a person standing directly underneath it, even though those would be two different levels of heat. You shouldn't be able to hide like directly under fucking neath a torch. God damn it, now I'm adding more questions to it. No, okay? So just the robot fucking vision is a little bit stupid, but everything else here in terms of special effects is absolutely amazing. And if I don't move on, I'm going to ask more fucking questions, and this video is going to get even more irritating to some people. So let's move swiftly onwards. So, the music in this movie is also fantastic. I actually kind of like how it's kind of a mix of your classic Western score, and then they throw in kind of sort of like a sci-fi edge at times. And it works incredibly well. It sounds awesome. I loved the score in this fucking movie. Our sound mix is also incredibly well fucking done. Our sound effects here are fantastic. Our lighting here is good. Our camera work is awesome. Guys, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Westworld? I would certainly recommend that you watch it at least once. So if you find it on like Netflix or Hulu, or if it's on like Amazon Instant Video, whatever the fuck the case is, or if you happen to have one of the 17 video fucking stores that are left in the U.S. and you find a copy, by all means rent it out. I'm not really sure about a purchase though. You would probably have to watch it first, and then figure out for yourself if it's worth a purchase. Me, I honestly am happy that I got to watch it. The movie is certainly worth watching. I really don't think it's going to stay in my Blu-ray collection, though. I have not decided that yet, because it's certainly a fascinating film. But I have a feeling that if I watch it a second time, I'm going to be hit with even more questions that the movie absolutely refuses to answer. In fact, I just thought of about 5 more, and no, I am not going to talk about them, because that's just going to pad this video out even fucking more. Holy shit. I don't think I've ever watched a movie that asks so many questions and doesn't answer a single fucking one. That is kind of sort of infuriating, and that is the one reason why I don't know if I can keep this son of a bitch in my fucking Blu-ray collection. Because I'm not sure if I would ever watch it a second time without just going completely fucking bonkers and asking why anything. Anyway, so I can totally recommend it to rent. I can totally recommend it to watch. To buy it, personally, no. That, though, is just on my end. But you see, naturally, if you guys watch it and you guys love it and you don't have the same issues that I had, then you obviously are going to want to buy it. Now, Westworld came off the Amazon wishlist. The person who sent it in was Thunder. You can find his YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/ThunderXTV. Dude, thank you. I have wanted to watch this movie for many, many years now. I think I first heard about Westworld back around 2006. And I've wanted to watch it ever since, and I've never gotten around to it. And thanks to you sending it in, I finally had my chance to watch it. And for that, I thank you. You're fucking awesome. Once more, ladies and gentlemen, that is youtube.com/user/ThunderXTV. Swing over there and check out anything that he has. And if you like what you see, please sub him. Now, shit. I'm going to go see if there is a Westworld novel out there. I'm going to go see if Crichton maybe wrote a novel to kind of tie in with the book. Maybe that'll answer all of the questions that popped in as I was watching this movie. I certainly hope so, because Jesus Christ, just why? Just I seriously could just look at the whole movie and probably just go why, and point to any one scene and like 3 things would pop up that would be perfectly suitable for that. Why the fuck are the robots balance systems in its feet? That just, wouldn't you put that in the core with everything else? God fucking no. I am not doing this to myself. I am not going to sit here and ponder even more shit. I'm going to go find another Western to watch. I've got plenty of them. I've got a ton. Okay, I probably don't have a ton. Probably about a dozen. I'll go find one. I'm going to go watch it, and I'm going to try to not think about this too much. Otherwise, my brain is going to melt into a fine goo, and I'm going to just be... just sitting, I'm just going to be sitting in a corner just wondering about just everything about this fucking movie that the movie did not answer. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.